Okay, guys, so now we're going to talk about the genital system. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to go over every single detail. So I really hope that you guys just get an overview of what's happening through this presentation. Before we start, some important things for you to know is that genetic and chromosomal sex determination is started at fertilization. You're going to have, if you do have a Y chromosome, the short arm of the Y is going to have a very important gene known as the SRY gene. This SRI gene is responsible for secreting what's known as TDF, which is the testes determining factor. Under the influence of TDF, your primary sex cords are going to differentiate into the seminiferous tubules of testes. So it's in the name, guys. Again, if you do have a Y, for the embryos that have a Y chromosome, they're going to have a very important gene called the SRI gene. The SRI gene will secrete TDF, and this is going to cause differentiation of your primary sex cords into your seminiferous tubules of testes. In the absence of a Y chromosome, therefore you know you don't have any SRI gene and you don't have secretion of TDF, then you're going to have the formation of the ovary. Know that the external genitalia is fully differentiated from the 12th week, so that's around the time that the expecting parents or mother can know the sex of the baby. The type of sexual differentiation that occurs in the genital ducts and in the external genitalia will depend on the type of gonads that the embryo has. If the embryo has testosterone, they're going to develop your maleness characteristics. The female is more passive. It's when you have lack of testosterone that then you're going to have your female characteristics. When we talk about the development of the gonads, there are three sources. You guys should be familiar with some of these terms. You have your mesoderm, your mesenchyme, and then you have your primordial germ cells. So your mesoderm is going to make up the epithelia that's on the surface of your genital ridges. And then you're going to have your mesenchyme, which is going to be forming your genital ridge, particularly your supporting connective tissue and vessels. And very importantly, it's going to be forming your interstitial cells of Leydig. You have your primordial germ cells, or also known as gonocytes. These are going to appear at the end of your 3rd week, and they're going to appear near the yolk sac, or in the wall of the yolk sac that's near the origin of the allantois, and they're going to then migrate to the primordium of the gonad, which is what you see happening in this image. So your gonocytes are going to appear at the end of the 3rd week in the wall of the yolk sac near the origin of the allantois, and they're going to be migrating to the primordium of the gonad, where they're going to differentiate either into spermatogonia or oogonia. So these process in the beginning, it's very similar. And so we call it the indifferent gonads. You can't really differentiate whether it's like spermatogonia or oogonia, like it's the same process, and only later do you see that differentiation. During folding of the embryo, the dorsal part of the yolk sac is going to be incorporated into the embryo. And again, like we just said, the gonocytes are going to be migrating and they're going to reach the lumbar region. The mesenchyme is going to proliferate and form your paired genital ridges, which is what you see here. And then the gonads are going to develop from the middle part of these genital ridges. The lateral parts, we're later going to talk about what they turn into. But know that when we talk about the development of gonads, this is happening in the medial part of your genital ridges. So your urogenital ridge, which is the exact same thing as this. This is just obviously a different drawing. So your urogenital ridge is created from the proliferation of your mesoderm epithelium and your underlying mesenchyme. You're going to have your medial part, which is this part. So your medial part, and this is going to be responsible or turn into your genital ridge. And then the lateral part is going to turn into your mesonephric ridge, which is going to be important for your urinary system. The upper part, again, obviously, like you guys are looking at an image, this is 2D, but you know it's not 2D. You have an upper, middle, and caudal part. The upper part is going to regress, the middle part is going to form the gonads, and the caudal part is going to form the gubernaculum. So there are 2 waves of proliferation that's going to occur here. In the first wave of proliferation of your mesodermal epithelium, you're going to have your primary cords if we're talking about an embryo that is XY, right? Your primary cords are going to differentiate into testicular cords, which are then going to cause rise of your Sertoli cells of testes. While in an XX embryo, in that first wave of proliferation, there's loss of character of cords, and instead you're going to form what's known as rete ovary. So this was the first wave of proliferation. So again, first wave of proliferation here, in an XY embryo, you're going to have testicular cords and Sertoli cells, while in an XX embryo, in the first wave, they lose their character of the primary sex cords, and instead they form what's known as a rete ovary. Then on your second wave of proliferation, again in the same area in your mesodermal epithelium, this is going to affect only your XX embryo. So for your second wave, only your XX embryo is affected, and you're going to have the formation of these cortical cords, which are then going to give rise to your follicular cells of the ovary. So after these proliferations occur in the mesodermal epithelium, then you're going to have your primordial germ cells invading the mesodermal epithelial sex cords. As this is happening, the gonadal root is going to separate from the mesonephrals and form what's known as the dorsal mesentery. So then this is going to separate, and you're going to have the dorsal mesentery. So now we're going to go into a bit more detail of how the testes are going to be developed. So we all remember that we have the TDF, and the TDF is going to induce your primary sex cords to condense, and then they're going to extend into the medulla of the, at the time, indifferent gonad, and they're going to branch in anastomose to the testicular cords. This is going to cause the development of your seminiferous tubules, your tubuli recta, your rete testes, and just know that your seminiferous tubules are going to remain solid until puberty. The mesodermal epithelium of your seminiferous tubules, right, is going to lead to the creation of your Sertoli cells, which are going to produce a very important hormone known as the Mullerian inhibiting substance. This Mullerian inhibiting substance is important because it suppresses the development of your paramesonephric Mullerian duct, which is going to create your fallopian tube. And obviously you don't want that here because we're talking about a male baby or a male embryo. The seminiferous tubules are then going to be separated by growing mesenchyme, which is what you see here in your second image. And from then on, you're going to have your fetal interstitial cells of Leydig differentiating, and they're going to start secreting testosterone and androstenedione. And it's under the influence of these two hormones that we're then going to have the differentiation of your male genital ducts and your male external genitalia. Eventually, your fetal Leydig cells are going to degenerate and disappear. They will appear again later at puberty, but that's not important right now. Just know that later they're going to gradually, throughout the embryogenic process, they're going to gradually degenerate, and they're just going to appear later at puberty. The development of testes is in close relation to the mesonephric tubules. And in fact, a part of them is going to become your ductile efferents of the epididymis, while the mesonephric Wolffian duct is going to develop to the ductus epididymis and ductus deferens, etc. So when we talk about the development of your genital ducts, both male and female embryos have two pairs of genital ducts in this stage. You're going to have your mesonephric, also known as your Wolffian duct. This mesonephric Wolffian duct is going to be responsible for your male genital ducts. It's what you see here. And you have your paramesonephric Mullerian duct, and this is going to be responsible for your female genital ducts. The type of sexual differentiation that occurs in the genital ducts and external genitalia, again, is going to depend on the type of gonads that are present. So testosterone is going to allow for differentiation of your male genital ducts, your glands, and your external genitalia. The differentiation of female is more passive, right? So again, if you have absence of testosterone and Mullerian inhibiting substance, then you're going to have development or differentiation of your female, your female ducts, glands, external genitalia. Your mesonephric Wolffian ducts, again, they're paired, right? They're developed by elongation, which is now what you see in this second image. So they're going to be developed by the elongation of your pronephric duct, which is your intermediate mesoderm, and they're going to extend caudally. Your paramesonephric duct is going to be developed by invagination of the surface coulemic epithelium, your lateral mesoderm, and it will also extend caudally, and it's going to be running laterally to the Wolffian duct. And then later, both of them are going to kind of fuse and form what's known as the uterovaginal canal, which is going to come in contact with your urogenital sinus. So again, we're going to have your mesonephric Wolffian duct. This is going to develop by elongation of the pronephric duct and is going to extend caudally. Your paramesonephric duct or your Mullerian duct is going to be lateral to it, and it's developed by invagination of your surface coelemic epithelium, your lateral mesoderm. Both of them are then going to fuse in the midline and form the uterovaginal canal. So, male ducts and glands. This is just a quick overview. We have your efferent ductiles. They come from your remaining mesonephric tubules. And again, this is all happening under the influence of testosterone. Under the influence of fetal testosterone, your mesonephric ducts can differentiate into your ductus epididymis. Your ductus epididymis is going to be highly convoluted proximal part of your mesonephric duct. Then you have your ductus deferens, which is going to be more in your distal part. You have your seminal vesicle. Your seminal vesicle is going to be just a lateral outgrowth that's also going to happen in your caudal part of your mesonephric duct. You have your ejaculatory duct, which is going to be the end part of your mesonephric duct, and it's going to open into the forming urethra. The Mullerian inhibiting substance that's secreted by the Sertoli cells is going to cause the paramesonephric duct to regress and disappear. Prostates will develop as multiple endoderms or endodermal outgrowths in the pelvic segment of the urogenital sinus, which is what you see here. So this is where the prostatic part of the urethra is going to arise from. And then you also have your bulbourethral glands, which are going to have the same origin, which is endodermal outgrowths in the pelvic segment of the urogenital sinus. For female genital ducts and glands, now again, we're looking at the paramesonephric Mullerian duct. They develop from mesoderm due to absence of the Mullerian inhibiting substance. Remember, the development of the female system in general is passive. It's due to the absence of like your Y chromosome, your SRI gene, your TDF, your MIS. So without these things, the embryo is just automatically always going to be female. The majority of female genital tracts are going to develop again from your paramesonephric duct, and this is going to be influenced by estrogen. You're going to have your uterine tubes or your oviducts, and they're going to be formed from the unfused cranial part of the paramesonephric duct. So again, your uterine types or your oviducts are going to come from unfused cranial parts of your paramesonephric duct. Your uterus is going to come from eventually you're going to have fusion in the midline of your paramesonephric ducts, and this is going to form your like fundus of your uterus. And your corpus body of your uterus is going to be from the fused caudal parts of your paramesonephric duct. You're going to have your endometrial epithelium and your endometrial glands that are going to come from your mesoderm. Stroma and myometrium are going to come from your mesenchyme. You have your urethral and paraurethral glands, which are going to correspond to the prostate. Greater vestibular glands of Bartholin, again, they're all coming from the endodermal outgrowths of the urogenital sinus. For your vagina, you're going to have your upper part of your vagina. It's going to develop from the lowest part of your uterovaginal canal. So again, upper part of the vagina comes from the lowest part of your uterovaginal canal, which is again made up of mesodermal epithelium, and the lower part is going to develop from the endoderm of your urogenital sinus. Endoderm of your genital sinus. So that's it for your genital system. Again, I'm sorry it was very brief. I just touched on the most important parts. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go over every single detail, but please do try to go over everything. Look at the images, Google other images. Perhaps they're going to have better images to show you exactly what is happening.